Start. So you can come front later. You can come one. So good evening everyone. Welcome to third class of IR. You two are new guys. You attended all class, right? So how was test? क्या लिखा? Any difference in writing after class? Thought process has improved. Okay. You're able to create more points, more dimensions are answer. Try to link with all these गोला गोला दिखा रहा था. और कुछ? All four you written? How much time you take? इसमें भी काम करना पड़ेगा. Like once we go ahead, अभी क्या कर रहा है? Content is first step. And हम discussion first class में भी बोला. You can understand in English also. No issues. So we were saying content is first step and it has limitations. Content से पूरा काम नहीं हो पाएगा. What more we need is correct presentation. Correct presentation means even by reading the question you should know the space is fixed. 2 page for 10 markers, 3 page for 15. So by just reading the question you should be very clear which dimensions I should focus on. Like which aspect should cover more part of my answer, which aspect I should limit. Even if I know so much about it, I should limit that writing in the paper. So these aspects should be very clear to you. If you're making a mistakes in this, something is fundamentally wrong. Clear? ये हमको पूरा avoid करना है. After attending class or whatever you are doing, answer writing, whatever practice you are doing, make sure that these kind of mistakes you are not repeating, because content over the time mains is in after prelims, 3 months after prelims also. Even that small time is enough for building content required for mains. But if you made a habit of making these kind of answer writing mistakes, you don't know how to generate points, you don't know how to think when a question is asked in IR or geography or any other subject. If this is, if you haven't worked, if you haven't inculcated the habit, then something is not, you cannot pick it up in a day. It needs practice, it needs right kind of training, guidance, all these things. So that's what we are trying to do. And even I see some of your answers yesterday, some online also, people are making still so much mistakes. Like basic cheese, we are again and again class mein repeat kar rahe. Even after that, the same mistakes are being repeated in many answers. So what we'll do today is we'll try to focus more on what should be the structuring part of the answer, subparts. We'll give little more focus on the. Like yesterday, I have seen more focus was going towards content side. So we will have to have more clarity on this. Clear? Let's start. So these are 4 questions. Online, anyone watching haven't seen the question, you can pause video, go through questions, and kindly attend the class after writing and trying to write the answers. Okay. So briefly, I will explain the process. Where it is. How to generate points in IR. To a new guys. So whatever question you have got in IR, you have to think from 3 perspectives. Shared values between the countries, national interest and strategic interest. Whatever these approach we are liberally using in most of the IR answers. Challenges पूछा है, significance पूछा है, कुछ भी पूछा है, if this is applicable, we are liberally using it. And you can think in so many dimensions regarding it. For example, in Japan, what will you write in this? So many of you have seen your introduction. India and Japan share cultural values. क्या लिखा है? India and Japan share historical and cultural values. Now, if you're wait, if you're writing a statement like this, why you're not giving some example? If you're not giving at least one example, then what's the value of this statement? Whatever you are writing, you have to substantiate. Neither school students will write it. What is? Give me some example. You can think it's not something. I'm not telling you to build something. Read history book. Wherever Buddhism, why not you are not writing? Every one of you can think Buddhism as common link between India and Japan. Still you haven't written. You itself told Buddhism now. Still you haven't written in the answer. So whatever argument you are making, try to give substantiate it. What else we will think? One values perspective you will think. What other perspective you are going to think? Political values. Democracy, secularism, all these political values come into it. What else? I told you to remember Panchsheel. Panchsheel principle, 5 Panchsheel principles. You have got that keywords booklet. You see in Telegram I showed you. So there is Panchsheel in it. Write 5, whatever the 5 Panchsheel principle it is, and by heart it. It's going to help in so many answers. What next? Political visits. If Prime Minister visited that country, think on that lines. I'm not saying these all will come in one answer. At least 1 or 2 will be applicable in almost all the answers. No, you have to optimize that also. If you have 10 value points, you shouldn't write it 10. At least only use 1, 2. If you are speaking on today one question on India-Israel relations. So when you talk on India-Israel, you cannot go on writing shared values. Just write 1, 2 shared values, then straight come to strategic. Or start with strategic itself, because that is the core point. And here national interest में क्या सब सोचेगा? Tell me. What is the most primary national interest? You tell me. Sit, don't. What is the most important national interest of India? Security, what it is? Economic, what it is? Technology, energy, what one is the most important? Economic development. To safeguard economic development, we are doing all the things. Even foreign relation contact क्यों हो रहा है? To safeguard our economic development, to safeguard our growth. इसमें क्या सब आएगा? Trade, import, export, trade surplus है, trade deficit है, investment कितना हो रहा है? What next? Diaspora, significant diaspora is there. How much it is? What next? Energy security. All these aspects you have to think. What next will come? Education. If any student exchange program is there, if any innovation fund, student visa liberation program, there are scholarships, student exchange, all this program with Africa, you can write. Yes. What next? What next dimension? Healthcare will come. Science and technology will come. Healthcare you can always link with COVID. Pandemic में India क्या किया? IR, vaccine Maitri. So cite it in so many places. We have sent vaccine to almost all countries, in African countries. Even if you don't remember exact data, at least vaccine Maitri, so you should have that much memory. Yes. What was next? No, national interest में next point क्या आएगा? Security, border, all these security related aspects, geography related aspects, geopolitical related aspects. What example बोलो? Good, good, good. All these things will come into picture. And this may be one more inner dimension बोला था. What was it? Disaster management. Example बोलो. India is sending so much programs. Mission Sagar, it is Indian Ocean region. India is having Mission Sagar program under which recently Mozambique hazard hua. What is it? Flood something. Then India sent so much relief material. So think on these dimensions. When you are making notes, at least get one point for every country or every country which you think major country where question can come. Don't make 190 countries list and I will make all this. Only those countries where question can come. India, US, India, Russia, India, China, India, Japan. These are countries which are repeating in paper. So on that countries in every this dimension, you should have at least 1 point. 1 point at least for each. In education, India, Japan, what is going on, you should be able to speak one word. ये deal हम sign किया था in 2020 or 22 or something. Okay. Strategic में क्या लिखेगा? Doctrines, neighborhood first, Gujarat doctrine. What next? China, neighborhood, extended neighborhood, all those things will come. This may be one thing which people usually miss is UN reforms, UN organizations, or any other organization, Asian Development Bank, BRICS Bank, New Development Bank. Which one? If yes, why? See, there is a group called G4. What G4 is doing? Which countries are in G4? India, Japan. Let me see if any online guys are answering. Which all countries are part of G4? India, Japan, along with Africa. No, yaar. Tell me, Shikhar Srivastava. Which are countries, current affairs, which are countries in G4? India, Japan? Brazil? Germany. So these 4 countries are part of G4. What G4 is stand for? They will support each other's claim for UNSC permanent membership. These 4 countries. And which is opposing to G4? Coffee Club. This contains Pakistan, Argentina, all the South Korea, all these countries. Okay. The point I was making is you should think on these dimensions. If you can picturize these 3 points, rest of the things should be fixed in, it should automatically come into your mind. First we will go through values, then we will go through national interest, economic, all these 1 point, then we will come to strategic. If you can do this exercise in few questions, generating 7, 8, 10 points is not that much difficult task. Clear? Don't go too much deep into it. This is made only for understanding or our generation of a point into it. This is not like you can border interest, security interest, you can keep in strategic also. All liberal rights to you, no issues. This is not something like foolproof. You should think this way. No such criteria. You can write strategic first, no issues. So this is little bit expansion on whatever I told right now. If you want to take screenshot, if you want to take anything, you can take. This is the way of thinking that should have come in IR paper. Okay. So let's continue our discussion. First question. What is the question? If the last few decades were of Asia's growth story, the next few are expected to be Africa's. In light of this statement, examine India's influence in Africa in recent years. So tell me, Forget about introduction and conclusion for a while. Tell me what are you going to include in the body. I want clear answers. Yesterday we got some carried away with it, but seeing your answers, I am very disappointed. Like so many mistakes are coming in this aspect. So what are you going to write in this? Let's go step by step. It's okay.
Last few decades of Asia.
Let me go step by step. What is asked here? Keyword in the question is examine. What does it mean? So this answer should have an analysis part of it. You cannot leave this question without writing India's challenges India is facing in Africa. Examine India's influence in recent years. So you say these are influencing factors. You should write limitations of India's influence also. In some question yesterday also I told that you can write, even if you don't write, it is okay. Some question I told. But since here the keyword is examine, in this question you should write the positive aspects, limiting aspects. Clear? If this were explained, in question where the keyword were explained, then I will sometimes suggest go with one-dimensional answers. If explain India's influence in Africa, then only write about India, this India did, that India did. That kind of answering is enough. But here is examine. So you should have that clarity. Now what are the statements what are the parts of the statement? See, there is some reference to Asia's growth story. But the key question is Africa's growth story. Key question is India's influence. So if you have 2 pages, what will you do?
Half page, Asia's.
Half page you will devote for Asia growth plus Africa's future. Diagram. Very good, excellent. This part should not be more than this part. Why we are writing? Because there is a statement given. This statement and question is little different, slightly misdirected. But since a statement is given, you cannot simply forget it. So, but don't give half space to it. Within half of 1 page, you should include Asia's growth story. Even 1 line or 1 point is enough, not more than that. No potential of Africa or Africa's future. Regarding that, you can give a small diagram, something like this, 3-4 points. That is enough. The point is, it should not take more than half of your first page. After that, major part of our answer will be India's influence. And how you divide India's influence. It should also have 2 parts. And that can have 50-50 division. Whatever space is left, you can divide in 50-50 or 60-40. 50-50, that is okay. Okay. And if you want, you can include a way forward in a small space and you can 2-line conclusion. So this picture should be clear in your mind by reading the question. This division of space, how you are going to do. Getting? Let's move ahead. So how you write introduction, first part of the answer? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, then go together. Good. Asia growth, China, India, ASEAN. What is it? Current affairs, please explain. Yeah. So what I tried to do here is, we'll start with Asia's growth story. It's okay, it's okay. So what we'll write on Asia's growth story? How we can substantiate the statement? What it is given? Last few decades, were Asia. Okay. So what is happening? Okay, so we need to some data. If you remember, that work become very easy. Last few decades were of Asia that we want to show. That is the statement given. So in 1960s, Asia's contribution to world GDP was 12%, and within 50-60 years, it became 40%. So that's why we are saying last few decades were of Asia's. So we substantiated what is the first part of the statement. Okay. Now next part we are coming into looking forward. Africa is a continent of hope. The use of keyword. You can go. Really off the AC. You decide. If you want, I can off the AC also. Okay. No, it's okay. Yeah, let's continue. So what is the second part? Now we have to prove that next decade is of Africa's. So one keyword used is continent of hope. After that, we have given some examples or dimensions potential of Africa in the upcoming decades. And here so much data is given. You can note down, pause or whatever. In exam condition, 2 or 3, even 2 or 3 data or 2 or 3 points, that much is enough. Because we only have half page to fill all this data. At least 2-3 points of this you can remember, you can replicate. That is good. Tomorrow's topic is UN organization, WTO, WHO, all this. WTO, WHO, UNESCO, UNSC, all this we know. Instead, I don't think so. Instead, question is in 2022 that we already did. Continue. So this is clear. I'm not spending too much on content explanation, all these things. So the same framework I have told we are going to apply. What is our first part? India's influence in Africa in recent past. What is the principle? What is the value from value? What is one element you can think of? NAM. Even though NAM is getting irrelevant or NAM is getting subdued, still NAM is not gone away. India still hold on to it. Somehow it is still a deciding factor between India and Africa. So only 1 point from shared value we are writing because that is not the purpose of this answer. We are directly going into recent engagement. And in this question you should also take note of examining in recent years. So whatever point you are writing, whatever substantiation you are giving, there should be some reference to recent happenings. जवाहरलाल नेहरू का चीज में कितना कम लिख सकता है उतना कम लिखना, या इंदिरा गांधी टाइम्स क्या हुआ है इंडिया अफ्रीका रिलेशंस, because we have something like recent years. That's why NAM, even though it is value point, first point, good point, we'll write only 1 or 2 lines of it. Don't go too much into it. Now we come directly into political engagements. We are following the same thought pattern. Getting it? But one example you can cite, 2010-19, Prime Minister popularized the Kampala principles. It is something related to inclusive growth, free, take everyone together, all these basic ideas. What else? Now values is over, political engagements is over. Next come most important element, economic engagements. We are done in US. I told you to remember the bilateral data with major countries. How much is trade happening? How much is trade balance? Kya situation hai? So Africa together is 4th largest trading partner. It is having a trade of 89 billion. Who is the highest trading partner? You are still 2 years back. USA is the highest trading partner with around 119 billion. Okay. China is second with around 115 billion. Okay. So major countries, at least you try to remember these things. India is 5th largest investor in Africa with 73 billion of investments in last 20-25 years. Now, what is speciality of Indian investments or Indian business economic engagement with Africa? We always speak it in terms of China's engagements, economic engagements with Africa. If you see from China's engagement with Africa, it is having elements of debt trap diplomacy, elements of trying to buy all the resources of Africa. All these elements will come into picture. But when India is engaging, India trying to give skill development to the Africans, try to have some social development aspect to it, try to engage with the development partner of the countries. So all these elements India bring into the table. So this is India's advantage as well as something you should highlight when writing or giving substantiation to these points. Now recently some happening, G20 is happening, COP27 is happening. You should write down at least a word on what all developments is happening. So recently a summit हुआ था, Indian African Conclave. This was organized by CIA and Exim Bank. So this is bringing together different business partners. This was just one heading in newspaper. But if you remember, note down or at least remember this much, like India Africa Conclave 2022 में हुआ है. You can use it as a substantiation to your argument. You are giving so much one headings, right? You should give some data, some examples, something credible to substantiate every point. You are opening answer in different ways. What you have to do next is you have to learn this. You need to get the work done. Clear? Move ahead. What is education? Cite some engagements. Scholarships given to 50,000 students over 5 years. Study in India initiative recently launched. Something I again told, you are studying India, Africa, on every dimension we talk first, you should have one examples. That is only what you need. Beyond that, how much knowledge you have, it's very limited scope to use in exam. Health engagements, vaccine Maitri. India sent 39 million doses to 42 African countries. Even if you don't remember exact data, try to remember the range of the data. You can cite 40 million, nearly 40 million. Nobody is going to kill you for that. Or even that is not possible, at least remember this vaccine Maitri. Getting India Africa Health Fund, generic medicine, vaccine supplies, not COVID, traditional vaccine supply. India is leader of these two entities. Should come to your answer. Okay, technology transfer, future transfer has so much possibilities. UPI system, Aadhaar framework. This is something which can replicate in so much answer. When discussing on Central Asia, we also told the same point. In Africa also it is relevant. Green Growth Partnership. What is this ISA? Solar Alliance. So many African countries are part of it. Should you write it? What is LOC? Line of credit. India Passport project, 10,000 megawatt solar plant in Sahel region. Okay. What we are doing is we are following the same mental framework and picking one examples. Beyond that, nothing we are doing here. Move ahead. What all else you can think of? Disaster management. Sagar mission. India recently did help the Mozambique. You don't need to write this example also. Any example India recently did, you should cite. Something new came tomorrow, cite it. Security influence. Indian Navy is conducting so much pirate operations. Sometimes picture will come with blasting ships. So Indian Navy is very active in anti-piracy operations. International collaborations. One example is Asia-Africa Growth Corridor. Indo-Japan. Very good. So you got how many points you got here? 10 points on one dimension. So that is too much. In example, if you use write 6, that will suffice. 6, 7 will okay. We have other dimensions to write also. What are challenges to Indian influences in Africa? Because the question is examined. Should not leave it with positive sides only. What are challenges? In challenges, how you think. Don't read the point. In challenges, how you are going to think. challenges, significance, all these questions, try to break down the question into different stakeholders. Think from India's perspective. What challenges India is bringing into picture? Think from Africa's perspective. Think from global anything, global order, other stakeholder involved. If China is there, USA is there, any other stakeholder is involved. Think from all those perspectives. At least 1-2 points you can generate on each. That will suffice the answer. And it is not necessary to write these. This is for our understanding. This is the mental process you need to follow. Getting? Hazards of treating Africa as a single unit. Right? So many scholars criticize that India is still living in time of 1960s. India still consider Africa as a non-NAM extension of NAM or something like poor country relationship. Africa has gained so far. They are one of the biggest growing economies. So with the China is doing proactive engagements, India should also come up with something like this. So if India still treat Africa as a single union, we will miss all the differentiation within the continent. We cannot deal South Africa and South Sudan with same mentality. South Africa is a booming market, booming economy. There are different types of engagements required. Okay. Setbacks in soft power engagement in diaspora. This is something which you have all know. कितना बार न्यूज़पेपर में देखा है? African students being manhandled, African student को room नहीं मिलता. India is inviting them, giving them scholarship and promoting our higher education sector in Africa. But Indian society, what it is doing? They are treating African student as racism. So all these cases different times newspaper mein hai. So this is what is doing. It will deteriorate India's soft power. Something is happening to foreign citizen in India, it is going to be global news. It's not going to be stopped in India. So this will reduce India's credibility. What else? Diaspora, diplomatic outreach issues, still based on colonial narrative. I already told you. Lack of coordination. Prime Minister will announce something, Minister of External Affairs work in some other way, Minister of Defense work in some other way. There is still need for a lot of coordination between India's engagements. Limited outreach to diaspora. India is having very active outreach to US diaspora, European diaspora, UK diaspora, but African diaspora is very significant diaspora, still outreach is very limited. This has to overcome. Then think from perspective of Africa. Political instability. If a region is politically unstable, however political promotion you do, which company will go and invest there? Political stability is not there, how can investment stay for long term? In example, most prominent example, what? Afghanistan. What all investment India did? Now political stability is not there, Taliban took over. What happened to all the investment India did? India made parliament, India made dam, India made whatever India can, road, all these infrastructure things. But political instability in Africa is also one of the most politically unstable regions still. Even though stability is increasing, but still there is question. One example, South Sudan, civil war in 2021. Is it 21? Please cross check it. I have some doubts. Now, challenges with respect to external actors. What are challenges? Global competition, third scramble, what it is? The idea is so much MNCs are eyeing Africa. They are coming into Africa, and why they are coming? They want to acquire the resources of Africa. Africa is a highly resource center. Why MNCs are putting so much interest in Africa? They want to have a control over the resources. Now Africa, a factory is there, profit making industry is there. Where the profit will go? To some other countries. And it is not being benefiting Africa, don't have political system to put enough taxation, good taxation mechanism. All this is not established. All the benefits of industry will go to some other countries and Africa will remain something underdeveloped stage. So third scramble is very good keyword. You should use. Idea is this, MNCs you understood right. Different big companies, they are coming in. Adani Group is acquiring petroleum reserves or coal reserves in Australia or Africa, maybe kuch kar raha hai. Like that, different US groups or different countries, big groups are coming and they are acquiring land, resources, all these in Africa. Now there is intense competition among these companies. Now whatever these companies, if it is ultimately not benefiting Africa, then the whole picture what it is? It is something a loss to the continent. Ultimately all these coming, India also promote FDI. We have a system here, if a company bring in FDI, they can generate business, then they will give job to Indians and they generate profit, we will tax them 30%, 40%, kitna hai hamara corporate tax? 25% abhi reduce kiya. So we have a system to tax them, we have a system to check the illegal activities is not happening. But if a country, there is taxation is not that evolved, taxation capacity is limited, there these MNCs are coming and competing within themselves to get the resources. Ultimate gain of resources who will get? The localites or the country or the nation will not get. Clear? Yeah, neo-colonialism, another keyword you can use in this question. Then China factor is applicable almost everywhere. In every IR answer, you should think from Chinese perspective. What will come? Chinese trade in Africa is around 2.5 times that of India. Chinese investment is 3 times that of India. So China is having much greater inroads in Africa than India. Way forward, it's not that much necessary. It's a 10 marker, 2 page will always finish. But still, if you want to see, you can write all these points. I'm not going to explain all this. Track to diplomacy, what it is? That's a new thing. Rest all we discuss somewhere within the answer. What is track to diplomacy? Engaging non-official level. Non-official means engaging actors, engaging NGOs, engaging private firms also. All these people which is not part of the government, using them to conduct the foreign policy or foreign interests. Shouldn't we write about economic perspective as the question is growth of Africa? Obviously, you should give importance to economic perspective. Though India is trying to have tools of security. Yes, very good, Shigar. So move ahead. In conclusion, what you can do? This is one approach to conclusion which I want to show you. If some important thing is said by Prime Minister or Foreign Minister or even some scholars, if some very important line on India, Africa, you can remember, you can write those. And it is not necessary to write the exact words. Paraphrase in your own words and write it. Just take the idea, then paraphrase in your words and write it. Okay? Yes, very good. Excellent. Very limited words, one keyword is also there. Good. So this what you can do if you are making notes in every country, US, if some important dialogue is told by foreign minister or prime minister, you should note down it. Let's move ahead. Anything else? Let's move ahead. We'll try to do it fast. Second question, the time has come for India and Japan to build a strong contemporary relationship, one involving global and strategic partnership that will have a great significance for Asia and the world as a whole. Comment. So what are you going to do? What the question is demanding? Tell me what are parts you are going to make. Strategic and partnership between India and Japan. Okay. India-Japan partnership. India-Japan partnership. significance. Yeah, tell me how you are going to categorize it. We'll do challenges, right? You remember last question. Last question, how did you generate point for challenges? You can speak in Hindi, no issues. Thing is, when you are writing significance, it's very easy to go through the point of stakeholders. From point of India, what is the significance? You can go this way. Who are the actors? One is India. What is the second one? Japan. Now there is question that will have greater significance for Asia and the world. All these things are coming. So next, go through the region. What is the region of this? It will come Asia. Then it will come Indo-Pacific. Regional, what is the relationship? Then global issues you can cover. Africa, you are engaging in Asia-Africa growth corridor. World order. China threat. Can come there also. All these elements you can think from these dimensions. The question is also demanding that. It is directly asking Asia and world. Okay. And what I asked you is you should think from different perspectives. Think what is significance from India's perspective. Think what is significance from Japan's perspective. What is significance from perspective of Indo-Pacific, stability of Indo-Pacific, or growth of Asia, or stability in Asia, militarization of Asia, global supply chain, everything you can think of. Clear? Anything else you want to add in this answer? The keyword here is comment. Comment means it is not necessary you need to write the challenges. If you don't write challenges way forward, no issue. And this is how much mark? 10 marks only. So even this will have enough points. Don't comment means it not necessary to do the analysis. So this is only enough in this question. Move ahead. Yes. Tell me dimensions. Issues way forward, I am saying the keyword here is comment. If you are writing issues way forward, कितना लिखा है? एक पूरा पेज लिखा है. Space is taking full page, right? Almost. If you are writing two page, and 50% is you are writing something which I cannot give you marks. Here keyword is comment and it's not necessary part of the answer. The analysis, issues, way forward, all these are not necessary part of the answer. And you are writing 50% means you are going to lose marks. These mistakes should not happen. This is why I am repeating n number of times in the class. Content you don't remember, content आपको पता नहीं है, कीवर्ड याद नहीं है, मोदी जी ने क्या बोला ये भी मुझे याद नहीं आता. Understandable. Okay, human being, everyone is like this. You can learn by the time when mains come. But these kind of mistake you should not practice when you are writing answer. इधर भी और भी जगह जाके आंसर राइट कर रहा है, घर बैठ के आंसर लिख रहा है, एक ही आंसर लिख रहा है, फिर भी ये मिस्टेक नहीं होना है. 20 लिख रहा है, एक लिख रहा है, किधर इंस्टीट्यूट पे जाके लिख रहा है, अपने के लिए लिख रहा है. कभी भी आंसर राइटिंग आप आज से कर रहा है, you should not make this mistake. Something which is not asked, something where mark is not that much relevant, you cannot give 50% space to it. Space is limited. Even if you want to write it, I have so much good points, you write, take a small 25% of the page. Of second page, 25% you write. I'm not fully discouraging you. But it should not happen like this. Clear? So what introduction is this? That is what I am saying now. You should look at the keyword. Where it gone? you should look at the keyword. Here it is comment. Comment means it's not, you are not going to do the analysis. In last question it was, which was first question we discussed, first या second? Examine was the keyword. Examine करो बोला है, then you have to do the analysis. Critically analyze SEO objectives. Yesterday we discussed. Critically analyze objectives, aims and objectives of SEO. In that question, if you are not writing against objectives of SEO or limitations of objectives of SEO, then you are making a mistake, right? So you should read the comment very carefully, or keywords, whatever it is in the question, very carefully, and understand what is the demand of the question. How much space I should mentally allocate to whichever different parts you are writing. Okay, so this is some writing from Shinzo Abe, Towards Beautiful Nation. So how you remember these kind of things? Here also, when you are making notes, at least for one country, 2-3 comments you should keep note of it. Take a paper, write down. India, Japan, I told you this how you think. Make that notes, and in the end you write something like these comments which you can remember. Okay, move ahead. You can paraphrase. Don't try to learn by heart it. It will be very difficult. How can you by heart all these simple words? You write in your own words. Just take the key ideas of it. Learn 1-2 keywords. ये नहीं लगना चाहिए पूरा ग्यास लिखा. Shinzo Abe ऐसे बोलता नहीं है, and you write Shinzo Abe यही लिखा बोला है. There is a conflict in what Shinzo Abe's ideology is and what you are writing. Then somebody will pick you. Otherwise, have some common sense and handle the situation. Okay, so how will deal with this? Significance of India, Japan. We are thinking from India's perspective. Now here we follow, for generating these points, you can follow the same Gola principle. You can think from values, you can think from national interest, you can think from strategic, all those big blah blah things you can apply. So democratic vision, Quad spirit. We discussed so much on Quad. Go to YouTube and see last year, like yesterday's lecture, you will get to. Yesterday, no, first lecture. Complementary economies. What is complementary economy in India and Japan? Tell me. What is the complementary? Don't read that. I'm not telling you to read that. What is complementary of India and Japan economy? That is not. Think more. What is complementary about Japan and India? Leave the economy part also. What is complementary about Japan and India? Society, culture. Japan is an aging economy. What is age there? Average age is above 40s. India is democratic dividend phase we are going through. We are stepped on to the dividend phase, which will last for next 25 years till 2040 or 50 something. So we are a very young population. With so much population, we can be human capital of the world. While Japan is a country where human capital is becoming extinct. Not extinct, but very difficult to get. So there are so much opportunities. Nuclear diplomacy. Why it is very important in Indo-Japan relations? Yes. Japan is the only country who faced nuclear weapon issues. And Japan is very strict on it. And what is India's nuclear issues? In 1998, what India did? Yeah, Pokhran test India did. And what happened after that? India was severely treated by all countries. And no country was ready to give even the power plant nuclear equipments to India. Equipments, technology, uranium, anything. Even for power generation, they won't give to India. India was facing sanctions from United States, something similar to what Russia is facing. But it's a little different. If India cannot have capacity to counter it, We have our own nuclear programs, but still if we are looking for mass expansion, something we are looking nuclear as a major technology for powering India's energy needs in future, Indian programs are limited. We need technology cooperation. So that was all blocked after India's Pokhran test. Then how this was resolved? How this resolved? Who resolved? Russia did something, but main resolution किधर से आया? Who was prime minister after this? Vajpayee was prime minister 1998. After that, who came? Manmohan Singh came. Then what was Manmohan Singh's first government's biggest political threat? 2004 to 9. Nuclear deal with US. 1, 2, 3 nuclear deal with US. So US came forward and signed deal with India. US told we will provide you XYZ of nuclear technology or uranium for peaceful use, not for making weapons. And India was a very credible state. India was not misusing its technologies. India is not giving technology to some countries like North Korea or anyone. India was maturely using it. And we played a very active diplomacy. Indian diaspora was one of the biggest contributor. US diaspora was biggest contribution in lobbying for this deal. And what happened to Manmohan Singh for this deal? What happened? What was his trouble? Actually, Congress was ruling with support of communists. Communists were supporting Congress from outside. And they withdrawn the support to Manmohan Singh. He was facing what? But some other parties, I think SP, Samajwadi Party. I think SP, some other parties supported him and he won that. Yeah. He won the next election also. He created the goodwill of it. That was one of the biggest major achievements of Manmohan Singh one government. What next? Go on to discussion. So Japan, what I'm speaking, we deviated from the topic. So Japan is the only country who faced something very bad on nuclear aspect, nuclear weaponization aspect. So and Japan is very strict on having this. After this, US supported India, Russia was very prominent. After this deal, which country benefited best is Russia. Skudankulam plant, all other plants, India, many nuclear plants are being supported with Russian technology. And Russian companies got opportunity to sell their technology, all these things. And Japan was still not ready to accept India. They were keeping some distance till again 10 years. Then Narendra Modi became prime minister, then he visited Japan. Then some again talk, and after long talk, they signed deal with India. So Japan support is something. If Japan is supporting, then India is a very matured nuclear power. And Japan support, how we will need in future for NSG membership. What is NSG? Nuclear Suppliers Group. Why India is not a member? Ukraine is gone. China is not allowing India. NSG works in NSG. How NSG works? Everyone should approve, then only you will get the membership. Either China will block it through some proxy countries, or China started directly blocking also. So China is creating issues for India's NSG membership. So Japan support will be very crucial. Security aspects, what you can write? India security vision. What is India's regional security vision? India is net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. If India and Japan come together, they can have this wider ambit, can have a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific region, Southeast Asia especially. What is strategic aspect? Counterbalancing China. What will you give as explanation to this? What India is facing heat from China? Where India is facing? Borders. In Ladakh, what we have seen. Same issue is going with Japan also. What islands China is claiming? Senkaku Islands. China is saying, you're okay? Understanding? Yeah. So China is having direct border issues similar to India with Japan. Sorry. opposite. Japan is having issues with China. So you can give a substantiation to it. What else? From Japan perspective, tell me something. External balancing against China, same point. Economic dependence. Yeah, we discuss so much on US China issues. US issue kitna bhi strategically fight karo, at the end of the day, US economy is highly dependent on China. Interdependent is so strong, and Japan is also in a very same situation. You can fight with China, but economically decouple with China is not feasible. Manufacturing, invest, so many aspects, market. So even India is an alternative country sitting here. If you really want to decouple China, you want to expand this. There is so much opportunities between India and China. Future expansion, AGC, investment in ASEAN countries, all this you can cite. Okay, this is same thing. पहले क्वेश्चन में किया था एशिया अफ्रीका ग्रोथ कॉरिडोर. What else? Think from regionalist perspective, Indo-Pacific or Asia perspective. Multipolar world vision. What is it? We discussed yesterday also. US is upholding a world vision of unipolar world or hegemonic world, while India and so many other countries are looking for a multipolar world. Dependable alternative. In what context it is told? BRI. BRI is making, what is this BRI? Belt and Road Initiative of China. They are making investment throughout the world. So at least an alternative coming together of India and Japan can serve. Abe Doctrine. Japan is a country who is very famous for rule of law. And rule of law is something India's vision for Indo-Pacific. Rule of law should be followed. BRI, what BRI is doing? BRI is making trade corridors throughout the world. ASEAN countries, for example, ASEAN countries, they are making so much investment in ports. So what ASEAN country can do? Even if they, what happened to Sri Lanka? Debt trap diplomacy risk is there. So BRI and so much things about BRI is opaque. You will get the money, but you will not sure where it will go in the future. So if India and Japan can come together, they can offer an alternative to it. Clear? Some other investment opportunity. India is also looking for, India is making an investment in Africa. India is also a country who can capable of making some level of investments. Even though directly not in a position to compete with China, but still India can have a prominent role in that. So what else? Significance to global order. Here you can write all these G4 countries, Coffee Club, sustainable development. Okay, some points are repeating again and again. In the end of the day, if you think these dimensions, think from stakeholders' perspective, getting 10 points is not big deal. This is another way of writing current conclusion. What is difference here? What is difference in conclusion? This conclusion. See, yeah, one thing is a very important thing happened in the recent past. Actually, I framed this answer when these things happened. That's why it directly came there. The idea is, if something relevant is going on in news, something relevant which recently happened, you remember, between India, Japan or India, Israel, you can obviously use that in conclusion. Shinzo Abe demise hua. So you can use it in your answer some way or other. But don't make a political statement of it. That is very important. Okay. Let's move fast. What will you do with this? India's relation with Israel have of late acquired depth and diversity which cannot be rolled back. Discuss. What is keyword? discuss. Okay. So what we'll do here? Tell me parts. Discuss means an argument is given. You have to support this argument. This part you cannot miss. You have to support the argument very well. And negative countering the argument, you have a scope. If there is a scope to counter or some argument is given where there is enough counter position also, then go with countering also, no issue. But even if you don't do this, that is not too much going to hurt. There is some level of flexibility in it. And every question में ये करने का जरूरत नहीं. Okay. So what will you do with here? What depth and diversity are there in the recent past? That is, you have to substantiate. India, Israel, depth and diversity. This argument you have to substantiate. What is the other part of the answer which cannot be rolled back? Way forward you can write. Roll back means you cannot go back. Improved further means different idea, right? Roll back means you cannot go back to your previous position. Improve further means looking forward, you have to improve it. You can include that. Why we can't roll back? This can be analytical part of your answer. Here we will simply state facts. This happened, this deal signed, that's why the relation is coming close, Prime Minister visit हुआ. All this happened due to only facts you have to quote. In this you can give the analysis. Why India-Israel relationship is coming closer? Why India-Israel is having long-term vision? All this you can discuss in this part. After this, I don't think if it is a 10 marker, there is no much scope for writing challenges and way forward. For 15 marker, you can think of adding a challenge and way forward to it. Okay, move ahead. So this is a basic picture of what happened between India and Israel. So what is Israel-Palestine issue? Palestine means Arabs. Arabs people were living there for centuries, and Israel, Jews have religious issue. It is Jews has a claim to the land on religious basis. God given them this XYZ land, so they have religious claim to that land. This was going on for centuries, and after World War I, World War II, all these times Hitler massacre, Hitler issues, all these were happening against Jews. So Jews wanted somewhere to go, and this issue became more prominent. Countries requested Britain, it was under the control of Britain, and countries requested Britain to open the gates for Jews to come to Palestine, and they started coming, and all these issues were further going on. So what we will discuss is what is Gandhi's views on it. Gandhi's views, Palestine is for Arabs. He is a spiritual person, he is from a moral perspective, his views are coming from. And he said that Palestine is for Arabs and Palestine should not be a religious Jewish state. What is Jawaharlal Nehru's difference? What it is? Jawaharlal Nehru told that Palestine-Israel issue is an imperialistic issue created by British to do their divide and rule. He was also of the same opinion of Gandhi that Palestine is for Arabs. So this mentality dominated India's post-independence diplomacy with Israel. So that is because we see when we recognize Israel in 1950, there is a UNGA resolution 181. What this resolution came up for? Palestine should be split between Palestine, Arab Palestine and Jewish Palestine or Israel, two-state solution. And India voted against this. India voted one country for that. And India recognized Israel in 1950, but India was not having any diplomatic contact with Israel. Now in 1974, India was the first non-Arab country to recognize PLO. What is PLO? Liberation Organization. After that, establishment of diplomatic contact with Israel came in 1992. What is the most important thing about Israel? First thing, India, Israel, what come into mind? Defense equipments. Why in 1992 defense equipments? Why is the connection between these two? Give me some answer. Why in 1992 India was in need of a defense partner or defense equipment from Israel? For say any other partner. Why in 1992? 1992 में which war happened? Exactly. In 1991, disintegration of USSR happened. USSR was India's major military supplier. Even today, USSR is the major military supplier. And India was so much strategic aspect is dependent on USSR. And once USSR is gone, future of Russia we cannot predict. There was uncertainty. And that's why India needed a partner. And Israel is something who can replace it, who has the at least technological prowess to replace it. US. Yes. What is dehyphenation policy? We have two countries fighting each other and India has to deal with it. Then what India will do, India will not take side, we will discuss with to a person independently. We will deal Israel independently, we will deal Palestine independently. We will not come in between their fight. That was something India's official policy for so long. And what Modi doctrine says? It is not deviated too much from dehyphenation policy, but it upgraded the Israel relation to strategic level. Not just a give and take relation. We have so much common. We should do so much common things. That is what we have to write in this answer. And first Prime Minister to visit Israel in 2017. Still, India is not totally ready to give up India's autonomy. Even if we go so close to Israel, in 2017, voting in UNGA, Israel won Jerusalem as its capital, and USA moved some. I think Turkey moved against resolution against this, and India supported this. India went against USA, India went against Israel and supported this resolution. So even though we are close, we are never going to leave our strategic autonomic position. We'll go with merit of the case. 2019, India voted in favor. There are other reasons to it. Can explain it, not now. Will take so much of time already. Okay. One major is moralistic value itself. Like Jerusalem, still Palestine have some claim on it. You cannot come and make Jerusalem only US place, only Israeli place. That is moral aspect to it. But obviously there are political elements to it also. Go ahead. Yes. All three religions. Christians also. We'll discuss all this later. Recent conflict means it was what you are asking. Tell me. लिखो क्यों stop कर रहे? If relevant to the question लिखो. But India इसमें relation बोल रहा है, उसके बीच में unnecessary चीज नहीं लेके. You can write India का stance, you can write, but don't write it from the perspective of Israel or don't write it from the perspective of Palestine. Something is India is saying, Indian perspective you can include in the answer. Relevant to whatever question is asked, you can include. And don't take any ideological stance in all these questions. So it's a very minimalistic introduction you can see. Yeah, you can write, no issue. Who is stopping you? 30 years हुआ, India started the diplomatic relations with Israel. So what will include in the body? How Israel relation is acquiring depth and diversity. High level political visits, already told. 2017, first Prime Minister to visit Israel. Israel Prime Minister also visited India. After that, defense cooperation. Some examples you should keep in mind. Defense cooperation, everyone will write. I'm specifically saying to you. Defense cooperation, everyone know, everyone will write. But your answer can have any mark only if you give some examples. UAVs. What is UAV? Unmanned aerial vehicles. Radar systems. Missiles, Barak 8, at least remember one missile. That will suffice. India-Israel vision for defense cooperation. Deal was signed. Long-term vision. 10 years we will have defense cooperation. Israeli participation in Make in India. All these big companies, Adani Group, Tata Advanced Systems, Tech Mahindra, all these are signing deals with Israeli counterparts. Agriculture diplomacy, very important if you are speaking from Israel. Water efficiency, all these technologies, precision agriculture, drip irrigation, all these come into picture. Trade, how much trade is happening? 8 billion in 2022. Education, healthcare, strategic Western Quad is formed. What is Western Quad? I2U2. Not going deep into it. So all these dimensions you can relate to your answer. Getting? What next? Why it is said that closer, this is an analytical part of the answer. Here what we will do is, why India and Israel is coming together. We will have a look on it. Here you can follow the same procedure. Value, national interest, strategy, those civilizational connect. What is one example you can say? Jew diaspora in India. Ancient literature also some relevances are there. What is it? Vasudeva Kutumbakam, something like that. That is having a replication in Jewish literature also. Contemporary economics. What is complementary on India and Israel? I asked you about India and Japan. What is complementary about India and Israel? Research. Israel is an economy with so much research capacity and innovation, but Israel don't have market. And India is one of the big market for all those products. Strategic coherence, Western Quad, both are friends with US. Acquiring long-term vision, 10-year roadmap, already discussed. In line with high-octane diplomacy. I told you to use this yesterday. Have you used high-octane diplomacy? Should use keywords. This is in the list I provided you. There is high-octane diplomacy in that also. Start inculcating it. Facing similar challenges. What are similar challenges faced by India and Israel? Don't read. Think. Cross-border terrorism. You told now Hamas, bombing, all these issues. India is also facing similar to it. Infiltration in, yes, radicalization, all these. Okay. So, yeah, this is just for knowledge. I have included this. Some irritants in India-Israel relations. Pegasus controversy. Pegasus started from Israel. It is an Israel company. What is the name of the company? NSA. Something like that. Not explaining the issue in detail. India pro-Israel Palestine stance. India is still not completely came out of that Israel pro-Palestine stance. India still support the humanitarian rights of Palestine. Fissures in Middle East. Who is the biggest fissure against Israel? Turkey or Iran. And India, what India need? India want good relation with Iran also. When the US sanctions came after the nuclear deal withdrawal, then we reduced the economic deals with Iran. Before that, whenever the nuclear deal was active, Iran nuclear deal was active, India was very actively trading with Iran also. So India is a country who can do with anything with anyone. And these countries don't make that much of an issue. China factor, always writing. Communalization of India-Israel relations, politicization, all these create issues. What is way forward? Nothing new, I think almost you can get it on your own. No need to explain anything. Okay. Here also use of keywords. You should take note of use of keywords. India and Israel relation has posed the era of ideological posturing and moral politic. Explained in the first class, real politic and moral politic. So in Israel context, you should use these. Now we are having a pragmatic stance with respect to Israel. This opens for engagements, wider engagements in future. Okay. So what is last question? Question: energy security concept, West Asian energy security. So how will you address this? We have a statement and we have a question. What is statement? Energy security is very good for or very much needed for economic progress. Question is, analyze India's energy policy cooperation with West Asian countries. What you will do? Tell me. Abhi tak suna class? Let them say. You tell me. How do you approach this question? Ukraine all you can write, but somewhere you should limit to West Asia. Russia से हुआ. Thing is, the question is not about Russia. The question is West Asian countries. So argument should also be somewhere related to West Asia. Link, you can link the argument with udhar ye ho raha hai, this why this is about it. But main crux of your argument, West Asian countries should be part of it. Which are West Asian countries? All the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Iraq. India is so much importing from Iran. Yeah, move ahead. So at least first part of your answer, you should write something on importance of energy security. Energy security and link it with economic development. At least write something on it because statement is that. And in next part, you can directly go into what is keyword here? Analyze. So what you will do? Your answer should have that division. Yeah, analyze. So you can give 3 parts again. West Asian countries. This is our energy policy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Now analysis of this. Here you can have a box and give positives for 3, 4 points, negative 3, 4 points. Then give a way forward if you have space and knowledge. Then you give a conclusion. Clear? In point generation, we either go with stakeholders thinking, otherwise we will go with the other one. 3 rounds: strategic, values and national interest. So introduction, what you will write? Energy security determines all aspects. This is what I said. Very vague statement. You can give some data. If you remember some data, or yes, graph. 80%, 85% energy is crude oil is imported from outside. Data also you can say. Okay. So first part of the answer, India's energy policy cooperation with West Asian countries. Here what all you write? Major fuel source. Here also data, 50 years, 15 years, 60% in last 15 years. LNG is 85% is coming from West Asia. Energy infrastructure development is happening. $15 billion signed between Saudi Aramco and Reliance Industries. Strategic petroleum reserves. They are also UAE and Saudi Arabia is giving the petroleum required for this. Renewable Energy Corporation, where it is happening, ISA. You can cite ISA. West Asian countries are also a part of ISA. And energy efficiency, which country come in when energy efficiency we are discussing? Israel. Israel is also part of West Asia. Should not think that only Arab countries are part of West Asia. Giving a West Asian countries means Israel. One point should be regarding Israel also. Okay. So this is the analytical part, positive, negatives. You should at least have 3-4 points regarding that. If your answer sheet has all these dimensions correctly, then the only game is gaining enough knowledge, be a bare minimum knowledge. That will, if you are continuously working from now to next mains, knowledge will come. But if the structuring, how to gain the knowledge, this part you don't know, then it will not come in the paper. You will have so much, you will be very knowledgeable person. The end of the day, if it is not coming in the paper, then what it's all for. China factor, why not China factor? China is making so much investment. If you say Iran is a part of West Asia or Central Asia. And just giving an example of Iran, they are signed a 25-year, 400 billion agreement for investment, Chinese investment in Iran. 25-year, 400 billion, itna bada investment deal signed Iran's. It's something too huge. So China is making inroads in West Asia also. They are making investment in with Israel also. When Israel answer also, you can write Chinese factor. It is not like Indian, they are signing deals with only Indian companies. They are signing deals with Chinese companies also. China is not like only limited to borders or Indo-Pacific. China is having a global game, global plan. They are having their strategies. Okay. Anything else you want to discuss? What is poor diversification? Like there is a risk if 85% of our oil came from US, West Asia, and West Asia is a country with so much infighting. Iran is there at one side, Saudi Arabia is there at one side, Israel is there at one side. And these three groups are always fighting for it between them. And West Asia is having instability, Iraq issues, Afghanistan. All these things are there in West Asia. So India wanted to diversify its oil from other countries, Latin America, Africa, Russia. Recently it is increasing. So this was a plan which was proposed 20 years back, but still we are heavily dependent on West Asia itself. Sustainability issues. Our energy demand is going to quadruple by 2040. It's not going to come down. Entanglement with US sanctions. Which example will you give? Iran. US sanctions came, it's very difficult for India to trade with that country. Even though we are trading with sanctions with Russia, but handling smaller countries in that plane is not difficult, not easy. Beyond oil cooperation. Even though it started, it's still in a very nascent stage. So this is conclusion. Nothing much to discuss more. Integration of strategic in calculus into India's West Asia policy, enhanced scope for engagements much beyond the energy perspective. If you want to discuss any of your answers or show any of your answers, you can do it after the class. So these are topics for tomorrow. Come prepare with these topics. Question will be on this topic itself. Don't go and look the previous year question. Take the topic and prepare the topic. Then come and write the exam. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.